Hey folks, it is the Nutty Knife Guy. Now, I am bringing a compare and contrast video to you today. The Cold Steel Luzon and the Cold Steel Spartan. Now, spoiler alert, these are huge folders. I never thought I would get into the huge folder thing, but once I got the Spartan, I started getting bit by the huge folder bug. And I've had this one for about a month, I've had this one for a couple of weeks, and I have been switching them off day to day, carrying them, and I'm finding that they're both very easy to carry. And I'm going to continue to switch them off. I never thought I would rotate my EDC knives, but I am going to start rotating some of them. Like when I'm out of the house though, my custom-made Selkirk by Jet Hornbeak is going to be my constant companion. And when I'm around the house, my M-Tech Evolution. But the pocket knives are going to get switched off, or switched from time to time, rotated. But I started asking myself, I've got two great knives here, but if I could only pick one to carry all the time, which would it be? So, the Spartan or the Luzon? We'll start with the Spartan, the pros. First of all, just look at this. These are both designed as fighting knives. You can, like anything else, they're day cut, you can do some bushcraft with it, but they're designed as personal protection tools. And this thing is just monstrous. With the handle, it locks in the hand, it's not going anywhere. You can pommel strike with it. And because it hooks around your finger, when you can slash, you can really let this thing fly. And with this belly, it's going to have good deep cuts. Triad lock, very strong lock, well-tested lock. That's the pros. Now, the cons, when it comes to one-handed opening, you really have to get this thing in a certain grip, choked up far, and you kind of have to use the disc and then flip it open, at least I do, which is a con. And I have not been able to find a way to get this thing closed one-handed safely. That is definitely a con. Now, to get it open one-handed reliably is the old, I don't know if I can back up far enough for this. I guess I can't, but the whole Kershaw wave thing with the opening disc on the pocket here. That works, you practice a little bit, but if it's a personal protection knife, even if you're out hiking and you might get attacked by an animal, you need to be able to get it out quickly and reliably. The only way to do that I have found with the Spartan is to hook that opening disc on your pocket lip and get it out. But once it's in the hand, it moves beautifully. And it feels good. You've got a point on line with your bones for thrusting, and you've got this huge belly for slashing. Once this thing gets going, it would be fearsome to behold. With the Luzon, the steel is slightly inferior in my opinion. This is Oz 8A with the Spartan. The Luzon is 8CR13 MOV, I believe. Is it on here? Or 8CR17 MOV, something like that. But not as good a steel as on the Spartan. Very big knife. You can, if you want to, you can get two hands on this thing. Pros on this when it comes to a personal protection tool is it's got flippers that form a guard. I like that. It has an extra lock if you have time to engage it. We'll get back to that later. It's got a lot of good overhand if you want to use what the Filipinos call punya for hooking, right? Pommel strikes. Even when it's closed, it's big enough. If you hold it out here like this, if you smack somebody, these things these quillins or the flippers might not be disabling, but it will sure get their attention and might buy you time to get it open. Now, the fantastic thing about the Luzon is its action. It is butter smooth. You can, there's 4 ways to open this, and they all work equally well. You can use from the pocket, you can use the flipper to catch your pocket lip and open it up. I know you can't see that, it's off camera, but it works. You can use the flipper, which is one of my favorite ways, is probably my favorite way. Even when it's sticking straight up like this, you can deploy this big old blade with a flip of the finger. You have the stud, which works reliably, and you can also, with very little effort, just flip it open. That's great. Now the safety, which keeps the liner lock from moving over and disengaging, is great, and it's well designed because when it's in your hand you can't feel it. It is completely out of the way. It's almost completely flush to the handle scales, which means you can ignore it, and most of the time I find that I do ignore it. I don't put it on. But the Spartan, right, is really almost completely optimized for fighting. Yeah, it'll probably do good feather sticks. I don't know if we'll get around to feather sticking with it today or not. If I remember, we'll do it. Right, and conceivably if you hold it down here and hook this and do the hook here, you can get some good chopping out of it. But it's not really shaped for skinning or anything like that. The Luzon, why primarily a fighting knife, just because of the design of the blade, it's more versatile. You could skin game with it. Maybe a trail knife or a bush knife. Put this in a pack as a backup if something should happen to your fixed blade that you're carrying. And it can work. And that is where the safety comes in. You just move that forward. And if you do have to chop with it or baton with it, you've got that little extra element of safety. Now, but another one of my favorite features of the Luzon is this pocket clip. You've got a big, wide plastic pocket clip. Now, some people complain about that, and I don't think Cold Steel puts it on anything but the Luzon series. I like this thing. You put it in your pocket, and because it's wide and instead of very narrow, the weight is distributed more so it doesn't tear up your pocket. And when you're pulling it out, the force is distributed over a wider area so you're not damaging that one tiny area of your pocket. And it holds it in place, but you can still do that pocket opening. So we're going to take these out and put them to the post and some other testing and find out which is best. But I really like both of these knives, which is why I have decided to rotate carrying them. I am really thinking now that I've got on the huge folder bandwagon about getting a Raja 2, and when I can put that kind of money together, and a Spada XL. But that's for another time. We'll go outside and put them to the post. Okay, we're going to try both of these with the often copied but never equaled Donnie B All Day 4-foot drop test. Let me get you focused on my high-tech testing apparatus here. We'll start with the Spartan. Not bad. It tilted a little over, but not bad at all. We'll try one more time. Straight and true. Okay, we'll see if we can get one more straight job. Well, bulletproof that wasn't a fluke. Yeah, it's gonna, just because of the way this design, it's gonna go over a little bit. But we are getting some straight drops, so not too shabby. Now we can try the Luzon. Okay, Okay, I think my release was a little bit on that. That's pretty doggone straight. And of course, big long thing like this, it is going to want to have a tendency to flip. It's going to want to have a tendency to fall over. But I am picking up this testing apparatus just by the bite of this thing. And I didn't think to try that with the Spartan, so we'll do that. Not quite as good as the Luzon, but we'll do it. Okay, now, instead of doing water bottles this time, we recently bought a good sized piece of household equipment, and we have a box that has been talking trash about me all week and needs disciplined. So we're going to see how these perform against that. And we will start with the Luzon. Okay, there's some tape at the top of this, and you can see, and also I didn't realize it, but there was a flap back here, so 4 layers of cardboard and tape went through that and all the way down here. Now with the thrust, you know, of course easily all the way up to the hilt. Now let's try the thrust and slash, or as Mike Oyanek calls it, a comma cut. There you go, I killed the ball. But I didn't get it all the way in like I should have, but you're still seeing this whole business here. We'll try that again. Okay, yeah. Okay. A bad day for any Lizardman Zombie Ninja. Can you see that? Lighting's not the greatest, I understand. We'll see if we can get you closer here. And pan it down. Okay, we'll reorient the camera and see how the Spartan does. Turn the box around so we can get a fresh cut, and maybe knock the camera over. Now this one I was playing with my other knives on this one, so we're going to go up here. And again, we've got the flap, which went all the way through it. And we got a nice wound here. We'll try that one more time just because I was not satisfied with the technique of that swing. Even though I did cut all the way through. That would be bad news, without a doubt. But I want to try that one more time. Okay, that was even worse. That's not the knife, that's me. Let's try a different way. Okay, through here. through there. Alright. So, I mean, that's bad news. Okay, same thing. We'll try the comma cut. Okay. There's Donnie B all day's hourglass, and there's going through again. That's just devastating. And knocked my hat and my glasses off. The box is fighting back. But things like that can happen in real life. I don't edit that kind of thing out. Again, I went the other way with that, and you can see this is an appliance box. This is corrugated cardboard. That's pretty nasty, and this is holding up its edge pretty well. All right, let us go see about the war post. All right, we'll start with a Luzon. Okay. No damage on the edge so far. We'll look at the lock. This was without the safety mechanism engaged. I don't know if I'm in frame here, so we'll just do the lock this way. And it went closed on me. But I'm unharmed. But I think I might have accidentally engaged the safety, and I did nick myself a little bit, I guess. That's why we test. Okay. That's the second time this lock has failed. Now granted, it's not really supposed to be used that way, and I'm going to have to give myself some first aid, I think. Now, but blood covered and all, I have engaged the safety on this thing and see if we can do any better. I am still feeling this thing want to give. We will retest that later. But that's why I do this kind of thing for you. And I am going to have to shut the camera off and do something about this bleeding. Safety first, and I wasn't. Okay, I don't know how much of this I actually got. Might have to refilm some of this. But I wanted you to be able to see the fence post because I'm going to try that test again. No. Yeah, see. That lock failed. So, I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but it did indeed fail. And in case I didn't get it earlier, try what I did before. And this is with the safety engaged. It continues to fail every time. Okay, so there's that. Now let's try the Spartan. Now the Spartan has a triad lock, which is a superior locking system, they say. Being very careful again, much more careful than I was before. And that held. Okay, now just for toughness. This thing bites like no one's business because of that belly. I'm going to see if I can give you a good demonstration of that. Yeah, that was a miss. Moving targets. Now neither one you saw had edge damage. But the Luzon's lock failed repeatedly. Now that doesn't mean you write off that knife. I have a theory about those failures, which I will tell you about when I get back downstairs. And I know you can't see my face now. I'm talking with my belly and my less than clean shirt. Alright, well, this failed, the lock failed even with that extra safety engaged. And some folders, if you don't snap them out real hard and get them to lock, I snap them out hard enough. Yeah, they lock. But it's a failure, and you have to call it a failure, and I'm disappointed in Cold Steel because of that failure. But on the other hand, I'm not going to write off this knife. I still really like this knife. I just know its limitations a little better now. I don't trust any lock. I don't trust the triad lock. I don't trust the mono lock. I don't trust back locks. I don't trust frame locks, any of that. They're an added feature. This one is fully engaged, and I don't know if and it's not going to fail that way. But I am not using a whole lot of power. Let's see, maybe I can just tilt you down this way. Now see here, it doesn't fail. Applying it straight down, that's with the lock on, and then it's not failing. And now, see, I don't know. Now it is holding. I will have to ponder this, because before I was just kind of doing a sideways flick. I don't think I have any way of you seeing that. Let's try it over here. Okay, now, just for the sake of science, what I'm going to do, instead of flipping and getting it open really hard, I'm going to just open it like so and see what happens. There, it fails. Okay, now I'm going to try it one more time, giving it a good flip open. Okay, that one didn't even sound like it locked well. Okay, we'll do the flipper. Okay, that sounded like a good solid click. I'll try to do a little bit more authority. And it fails. Okay, so I wasn't just doing it very hard. Now, this is not all my might. It's a good wrap. So you just have to bear that in mind. You can't rely on any lock, and this one in particular. Now, I honestly think that this thing is long enough that it's got so much more leverage that the liner lock system just isn't really good for longer blades. That's my theory for the moment. But we do have a fail. Now, what happened when you saw me hurt myself? Get the camera cockeyed. When I did that flip test, I had my thumb what I thought was out of the way, but I was holding it tightly enough that it kind of bent the pad of my thumb down to where and I actually sliced off a piece of the pad of my thumb. I'm what you call an expert. I'm an expert at being stupid. I'm an expert at being dumb. I am being dumb for you. Don't do this shit yourselves unless you don't mind getting hurt. Now, you play with knives, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get cut. You have a knife collection and you keep them sharp like I do, you're going to get cut. So, I went out to the war post with a tentative score of this knife being 10. I really, really liked it a lot. I still like this knife a lot. I wasn't ever going to rely on the lock anyway. I carry a fixed blade knife every day as my primary personal protection knife for that reason. When it comes to any kind of a tactical or combat application, if you're starting with any kind of a folder, you're starting with a broken knife. Folders are always going to be inherently weaker than fixed blades, so you don't rely on it. They're there, they're nice to have, but when you're using them, you cannot rely on the on the lock holding. So don't write off the Luzon just because I had this failure. Also, this could be this particular knife. This might not happen with another Luzon. I probably voided the warranty from Cold Steel when I was doing all of this. I'm thinking about calling and ask them to send me another one for testing to see if the lock will hold up. But it's a liner lock and it's a big knife, so I don't know. I went out there with a tentative thing, a 10 out of 10 on this knife. I really liked it. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because of the failure. It still handles well, it still deploys well, there's no blade play. It just turns out the lock, including the safety mechanism, is unreliable. Now, when it comes to the Spartan, took everything that it had. The lock held up. I'm not going to have to retest it because it held up to exactly the same, well, not exactly, I can't measure pressure when I'm doing that and everything like that. There's no scientific measures. But it held up, and it held up. It handles beautifully as a fighting knife, but it has the problem of not being the easiest thing to deploy quickly or close one-handed. So which one do I pick overall? If I could only take one folding knife and carry that at EDC for the rest of my life, it would be the Spartan, because it's reliable. Well, more reliable. The lock is better. I'm not going to rely on the lock, but this didn't fail and it didn't hurt me. Or it didn't allow me to hurt myself. I'm not going to blame the knife for my own clumsiness. Now, I really thought that I was going to do this better. This is easier to carry. Even though it's longer, it's slimmer. It does deploy quicker. It closes more easily, but the lock is a problem. So just because of that, a very, very slight edge goes to the Spartan for something that I would carry in a real dangerous situation, and therefore something I would want to carry all the time. But it's really close. I'm not going to stop carrying this. I'm not going to stop liking this, but I am much more aware of its limitations. Will I recommend a knife? Yes, if you know the limitations. What bothers me about this kind of a failure, though, is not everybody, matter of fact, most people aren't going to be stupid like me and go out there and beat up on it and test to see how it will fail. Test to see what will make it fail. Some people will watch videos like mine, just to watch other knife channels, that, you know, D-Bad and Scab and Shredder and all of this, that test these knives. But not everybody will. Some of them will only watch the ones Cold Steel makes, and Cold Steel is not going to show this thing failing. So bottom line, to choose one that I had to carry, if a decree on high said you've got to choose one of these and that's the only folding, you know, large folder you're going to carry for protection purposes, I'd have to pick Spartan. And I was leaning the other way before the test, but that testing data doesn't lie. And that's it. You know, that's where I am on that. So I will leave you with, well, and something also. And I'm going to probably do a video on this that's not going to get very many views because it's not an actual review. I always say draw your knives only at just purpose. Deployment is very important. And that's one of the reasons that I was giving this one the edge. But if you're carrying a knife for the purpose of personal protection, tactical, or combat, fixed blade. Carry a folder as a backup. Fixed blades are always stronger. They're always going to be quicker to deploy. And with that, I bid you to draw your knives only in just purpose, to sheathe them only with honor, and to remember that without knives, life would be dull and pointless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Feed the almighty YouTube algorithm. Keep a lookout for my relation, Brett Mounts, card at the beginning of the video. Look out for my book, Fireteam Alpha, The Fate of Nations. Well, The Fate of Nations, Fireteam Alpha, Book 1. I am approaching 300 subscribers. I am about 32 away from 300. When I hit 300, I'm going to give away another knife. I'm going to give away another book. And with that, I bid you goodbye.